you know what? It's pretty amazing the world that we live in, the time that we live in, versus I can't believe this is happening to me in this moment in time.
Beautiful. And so just to get back to the skill, that skill of practice.
Welcome, friends, to the Budo Brothers podcast. My name is David, and joining me as always are Eric and Kyle, founders of Budo Brothers. You guys ready to go?
Absolutely.
Let's get it.
All right. So today we're going to talk about the art of Joy-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right.
Practicing the art of Joy-Jitsu. Training
We're
it.
going to practice the art of Joy-Jitsu, but I need to kind of know what your thoughts on this, and can we define what Joy-Jitsu is?
Well, what's the definition of jitsu? It's skills, right? So it's practicing joy skills.
Joy skills. Yeah.
How to develop joy.
Exactly. Practicing how to extract joy out of simple life experiences.
I like that.
That's a skill.
That is a skill.
That has to be practiced. So it's a jitsu. So Joy-Jitsu is the practice or the art of extracting joy out of life.
And joy is also a choice too, because you could choose to be negative or you could choose to be joyful. So practicing the art of Joy-Jitsu is how to be joyful in all situations.
Love it.
I like that a lot. Can you give me an example of a small situation where you can practice the art of Joy-Jitsu? So what is like one little thing that could happen, or something? Give me a scenario where you are training in this amazing art.
Perfect example. I used to absolutely lose my mind in traffic. And when you're stuck in traffic and you're late or you're this, it's so easy to just start getting negative, right? Like that's how road rage starts. You know, everyone's all pissed off and this guy cut you off and then they blow up, right? Most of the time it's not the car. There's other issues that are causing that, but traffic is a really good spot to generate strong emotions for a lot of people. And I was one of those people. I would like freak out, like I just don't want to be in the car. And that was before Budo Brothers.
Really?
No joke. Like that was way before we got into the mindset stuff. That was way before we started learning from Sifu Singh, and we started practicing meditation more, and we started to practice being and extracting the joy out of life, right? And through meditation, obviously, I've become a lot more of a calmer person. As high energy as I am, I'm very calm inside. But I swear that was from all of the mindset stuff that we've been doing over the last 4 years.
Right.
I mean, we've come a long way since the start of this journey to where we are now, just in mindset. And so what I try to practice, like now here's where we get into the skill. The skill is when you try a new skill, you usually suck at it. You're like, oh, I didn't get it. Oh, that arm bar, how did you do that? And you try like, it doesn't work, and and then all of a sudden you start to get a little more proficient, but you're still really consciously trying to execute it. It takes a lot of thought, it takes a lot of willpower, it takes a lot of practice. But then you get to this point where you're unconsciously competent, where you can execute without thought, and it just becomes a state. And that's what the practice of Joy-Jitsu is too, where you can practice it to the point where you are just a joyful human because you're used to operating that way, right?
Absolutely. And when I first started martial arts, you start off, you're so rigid and awkward, like a baby giraffe walking for the first time. Like you don't know how your punches go. And it feels not natural. And you work on it and you live in it and you practice the skills and you do them over and over again, and all of a sudden it starts to be smoother and it starts to become a part of you, and you're doing this on a consistent basis without even thinking about it. Now applying that to Joy-Jitsu, at first your instinct, especially with a lot of the things that make me angry right away, like for instance Google shut down for 10 seconds or something like that. And I'm like, I can't believe Google, this company, I'm just losing my mind. And then I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
This company is allowing me to talk and communicate with and find all of the information that I could ever imagine on the internet. And here I am just losing my mind that it's not working for 10 minutes. So having that insight allows you to practice, you know what? It's pretty amazing the world that we live in, the time that we live in, versus I can't believe this is happening to me in this moment in time.
Beautiful. And so just to get back to the skill, that skill of practice and the traffic, for example, I started to observe when I am either frustrated or I'm upset or I'm like, I started, instead of being angry, I observed the feeling of anger. And I was like, whoa, okay. Just the observation kind of snaps you out of it. You're like, oh, I'm really pissed off about this traffic. And I use that as a trigger to be like, okay, well, what can you be grateful for? And just taking a deep breath, realizing that I'm in a car that I own. I own a vehicle. I'm driving a vehicle. I'm driving. Like, whoa, I'm actually lucky. All of a sudden, traffic doesn't seem that bad. And all of a sudden, I'm loving the audiobook that I'm exploring. I'm just taking, it completely changes the exact same situation, becomes a completely different experience, which is really cool. And that is Joy-Jitsu. No joke.
How would you describe Joy-Jitsu, David?
I'd echo that. But I also think it comes down to two things. First of all, making it instinctual. And so, that is something that's going to come with the practice where, and when you're in a dojo, you've practiced something, a particular kick or whatever, thousands of times, that the movements are automatic. So just like any other kind of training, whether it's weight training or anything else, or training in joy, you want to get to that point where it's an automatic thing where you automatically look at, how can I put a silver lining on this? How can I be happier in a particular situation, regardless of the circumstances that are maybe agitating me at this moment? So I think that's kind of the first, aspect of it. The other part of that is it does drift into just being mindful, being mindful and, just like you're saying in the car, right? Like stepping back and saying that I am zooming across planet Earth at 60 miles an hour, or whatever, that's kind of incredible. I think about traveling anywhere, really. I mean, travel is an excellent example because travel just gets everybody really, really agitated and irritated at everything. So, you're going to an airport and you're taking off your shoes and you have the bags over here and like, where's my tag? And do I have my boarding pass? And like all this kind of stuff. And not even realizing the fact that in just a few minutes, you're going to be flying across this planet at 500 miles an hour, right? It's so, and perhaps visiting somebody that is very important to you, and you're making a trip that is taking 3 hours, where, such a long time ago, like, I mean, shoot, you may have been on a horse for days,
Totally.
Can we just have a little perspective about that? I guess more than anything else.
Three of you would have died.
I think right. He would have died of dysentery, right? That's the big joke. So I think being mindful of the fact that like it's that decision. You are making a choice to take a circumstance and find the good in it. And I think when you do that repeatedly, you start seeing the good in all sorts of cool things.
Absolutely. I think one of the most important words there is choice. You have to make the choice. Essentially, you have to be conscious of your actions and make the choice depending on a circumstance. Because every circumstance doesn't really have a meaning to it until you give it the meaning.
It's neutral. Everything is neutral.
Everything is neutral until you give it meaning. So you could either give it a negative light or a positive light. And joy is one of those things. It is uplifting. It has the ability to lift up your spirits and lift up other people's spirits. And when you use that in a business sense, or when you're trying to use it in negotiation, it's super powerful because you think sometimes in business you come from a scarcity mindset, where there's not enough resources and I have to compete, where you can go into a situation in business and in life and spread joy and positivity and actually get the same results from this abundant, joyful mindset. And so practicing Joy-Jitsu is kind of like this Jedi mind trick warcraft. It's using joy and positivity to navigate this space or your life and to attract more and more abundance and more positivity and filling your life with those things. And when you fill your life with those things, I think that leads to a fulfilling life.
100%. 100%. I think the other point where I really noticed a huge difference was when I stopped resisting. You know, you resist things, right? And it becomes when you resist something, it becomes a point of frustration, which generates. And then all of a sudden, when you just start to flow, when we started to flow with life, man, it got a hell of a lot easier.
Yes.
Right? We stopped. Things weren't such a big deal anymore. You know, we're like, okay, well, we could choose to make that a big deal, but that's going to be our choice. And if that's our choice, then we have to be comfortable with the consequences. And so if we choose, now obviously there's things that pop up. We are in the world of entrepreneurship. There's landmines everywhere. Things pop up. Things happen. Curveballs. Before you're flush with cash, then you're broke. Then you got cash flow crunches. Then you got inventory. Boom, boom, boom. We're firefighters, right?
And life is a firefight too.
Absolutely.
And you have to be in flow. Even if you take a look at martial arts, when you're in flow, your technique and your skill improve. The best fighters in the world flow through this. They're not planning. They're not thinking about their next move or punch. They're just flowing. They're being. They're riding the outcomes as they come.
And adapting to a changing moment, right? Anyhow.
So that's an interesting one right there, right? Adapting to a changing moment. And so let me turn this and ask you, I guess in this kind of term, as far as joy goes, is almost like pros and cons, right? We know what it can do as far as being joyful about little moments, and it sort of settles you. You release a little bit of that anger. You start to have a different perspective on things, and all that is very good. So without that, what happens when you don't try to train for joy? So what are the blocks that are naturally happening that you probably don't even notice? I mean, Eric, you were saying, in the car, this was pre-Budo Brothers, where you were just angry and there was traffic and you're like, rah, and all that kind of stuff. Did you consider yourself an unhealthy person? And do you think that, what were the boundaries that to you and your success that you didn't see because you were not practicing Joy-Jitsu?
Well, I look back at then, it's like, you're not even really aware that when you're freaking out in traffic, a lot of the time people don't realize how hysterical they are, right? Like they're too busy being the emotion, right?
Tunnel vision, right?
Right, exactly. So, I mean, I wasn't even aware, and guess what? That's apparently normal, right? Yeah, you're supposed to hate traffic, and life's a bitch, and and all the other things, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's normal, right? Well, because it's so prevalent. Well, I quite frankly think that's an insane way to live.
Yeah.
Sorry. If I had the choice between living in frustration and resisting everything in life, and the other choice of accepting what happens and what is, and making the best of it, and making good choices, and making positive feedback loops that we then adapt to, and yes, you're going to make wrong decisions, but the beautiful part about it is that when you make a wrong decision, you just go back a couple levels, right? Oh, okay, that obviously I thought that was the right decision, because if it wasn't, you wouldn't have made it, so you thought that was the right decision, but the result was not it. Okay, cool. Course correct. All right, how do we fix it? Try this. Boom. That is that circle, that fail fast, fail often, fail forward, and be grateful for the process. That is how you turn it into a feedback loop that just creates more positivity, because you're in a better mindset. And when you're in a better mindset, you interpret the world differently than when you're cranky and hungover.
Right.
The world hasn't changed. You have.
Right. Absolutely. I think, firstly, for me, choice and consciousness, because you need to be able to see yourself and see how you're reacting to these things in order to make these adjustments and to analyze yourself. But I think another big thing in the practice of Joy-Jitsu is learning to be authentically yourself. When you're authentically yourself, you're more joyful. When you're not trying to be somebody else or do something for somebody else, it is a more joyful state. The most successful people on the planet exist in that authentic, joyful state, that creative state, and turning down the volume of outside opinions. Eric and I, when we go out, we like to dance.
Yeah.
And dancing is a ton of fun. And the only way to we don't even know if we're good at dancing, but the only way to enjoy dancing is to not think about what other people are thinking of you at that time.
Exactly.
And just enjoy the music and the time and just let go and
Get
flow.
into it.
Yeah, back to flow. Let go and flow.
But that's exactly it. You're so busy enjoying the experience that you couldn't possibly rob yourself of that fulfilling moment by thinking about what other people are thinking about, because thinking about that takes you out of that moment and kills the joy in its spot. Immediately
kills the joy right there. Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's like that authenticity is huge, and it's huge for you as far as whatever your passion is. Because if you are trying to mimic somebody else, or, and there's nothing wrong with taking a look at people that have been successful in something and seeing what they have done and trying to, direct your path in a similar way. That is absolutely fine. I mean, that's the basis of everything, of most businesses, certainly in martial arts. I mean, you're taking what somebody who is trained and is an expert in, and you're trying to do those things. But to be authentically yourself in that same vein, that does create that huge state of joy where it's like, you know what, I'm just totally going to be me. And you understand and accept. Some people are going to like it, some people aren't. But again, it comes down to that choice, right? Am I going to listen to those negative voices? And am I going to alter who I am? Or am I just going to decide to be like, you know what, I'm having the greatest time ever. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I think that's pretty powerful. I think we're tapping into something here. I think in order to be able to get the most out of Joy-Jitsu, right? Like when we're talking about being joyful, I think the foundation of joy is internal, 100%. And so actually getting to that place where you can authentically be you, man, talk about a source of joy. You right?
Yeah.
That's where, because you are the source. You are the source of the joy.
Yes.
Right? But and that's where you have people that lost their way. They're trying to be, my dad told me I had to be this, and my mom said that, and my friends are this and that, and then they've forgotten who they truly are. Like what brings you joy? What about life makes you excited? What is it that you do? And it's going to be different for everyone. For us, for me and Kyle, the reason why we've been able to tap into this so deeply is because we love entrepreneurship. We love martial arts. And so smashing those two together has brought us a lot of joy because we get to be authentically us, doing what we love, and that's why it's working.
And I don't think necessarily we're 100% full understanding of who we are and what we're capable of. But for somebody listening right now who's maybe having trouble like knowing their identity, how would you tell them, or what would you tell them to take steps towards finding themselves, start getting joy into their life?
It all starts inside, right? Like meditation's beautiful. Going in, like spending time alone with yourself, just in silence. We're bombarded. We always have headphones in. We got this. We got the TV on. We got this. We got 60,000 emails. All these notifications. We forgot what silence is. We forgot what true stillness is. And when you get still and silent and can just observe, guess what? There you are. You're the observer of that situation. That's who you are, right? So cool. That's how you find yourself.
And I think for a lot of people, especially when you're being forced into isolation. Sometimes being isolated isn't the scary part. It's being alone with your thoughts. When you're alone with your thoughts, you can't lie, you can't make excuses, you can't run from anything. When you're alone with your thoughts, your true self is who you have to deal with. And you have to stare that person in the eye and determine, what is it that I like? What scares me? What am I afraid of? Why am I feeling certain ways? And it is a terrifying place. And it can break some people. It can make you feel down. But when you start asking the questions, it allows you to explore the answers. And once you start that state of exploration, I think that is a way to start determining how to act accordingly, how to start bringing joy into your life, how to start bringing positivity in life. Because you need to understand how it is that you feel those things. What is it that you do to feel those things? Meditation is great. Physical activity is great. Surrounding yourself with the right types of people is great. But you have to find what it is for you.
You know, in this current, you know, in this world that we live in right now, as far as technology goes, everything is at your fingertips. And you are constantly bombarded with media, with sound bites, with noise, with music, with movies, with TV, with all of these things are everywhere. Billboards, everything is flashing, blinking, and calling for your attention at all moments. It is very easy to distract yourself enough from unhappiness by all of these things. You know, I'm not happy right now. I'm depressed. I'm going to have a tub of ice cream and watch Netflix for a while.
Right.
You know, I'm not happy right now. I'm going to clean the house. I'm not happy right now. I'm just going to work longer hours. I'm not happy right now. I'm going to do, and all of these things are just distractions, and they're filling your brain. Sure. And you're on task with different things. But when you do tune those distractions out and you allow your mind to have a huge empty pasture to roam around in, you tend to dig down into these things and you give it the space to go through those thoughts of like, why am I need space to figure out why I'm unhappy right now. And I need space to figure out why I'm working an 80-hour week when I should be working a 40-hour week and be happier and doing other things. And I need the space to figure out why I'm so upset that I'm cleaning my house top to bottom when I should just be confronting the emotion that is causing that. And when you do allow that space and correct some of those things and identify them, and it's a really hard thing. I mean, your head is doing that automatically because it doesn't want to confront something that's scary. So when you allow that to happen, just be honest and calm and be like, okay, now this is what happened. This is why I'm feeling this way. Now, how do I replace that empty pasture with this negativity floating around in it with a pasture that has some joy in it? And how do I stop and look at these little things? And how do I start to appreciate things, confront it, get over it, get past it? You know, all of those different things. Do you feel like when you have your own space in your head and you're okay with that, right? It's not a scary thing anymore. Do you get over negativity and do you come back to joy a lot faster for you?
One thing that I would say is the biggest progression in my mindset was being able to detach and observe thoughts. It happened in meditation. Sifu Singh was one of the people who put us onto it. But being able to detach from your thoughts and to view them through almost an observer.
Yeah.
And that's how he termed it. It sounds really hokey when you first get into it, and I remember listening to it the first time and trying to do it and it being extremely difficult. But being able to disconnect from your racing brain and your thoughts, and the way I found for me my path to learning what the observer was focusing on breathing and focusing on my breath and decreasing the amount of things my brain is thinking on. But once you're able to interpret your thoughts and look at your thoughts, you can realize that it's like a drunken monkey. There's so many things racing around in your head at any given time. And then you can choose which ones you want to focus on, which thought you want to focus on. Eric and I are fairly positive people. I have negative thoughts. I guarantee he has negative
Absolutely.
thoughts. We have downs and ups.
Every day. And it's a constant battle.
But inside of it, your head, if you're having negative thoughts, you more than likely have a positive thought in there, even if it's just one. And you could choose to focus on the million negative things,
Which lead to more negative things.
or the one positive thing, as small as it may be. But once you start building on that mindset, on finding positive thoughts, finding positivity, you can collect that and you can grow and you can get stronger and have more positive thoughts.
And it leads to more positive things. And it's these feedback loops, right? You're either going up the escalator or you're going down the escalator. There's no but that's what's cool about using breath to observe the breath, to be the witness of air going into your body and out. Like, man, simple, basic. I don't know. It's been around for 5,000 years. There might be something to it.
Absolutely. And we recently just started Qigong.
Yeah.
And it is a mind practice. Every time I start, I'm getting better, but when I first start, I don't want to do it. I want to go like do something like high energy or like lift a kettlebell. Like, yeah, I'm a man. Yeah. And then like it's so against my internal nature to just slow down and focus on breath and movement and mind boxing,
Right.
as
Sifu
the
Singh,
program that we
yeah.
called Sifu Singh has that we're trying. And it is so challenging to still the mind and to take yourself and just focus on the movements and focus on your breath and your body. When you start your practice, you're having so many thoughts run through your head. Oh, what if this notification?
How long is this?
Oh yeah, how long is left? Oh my gosh, like what do I look like right now?
This is stupid.
I'm making stupid noises.
I could have sent 10 emails by now.
Exactly. And you have this like just cluster of just mayhem in your mind.
It's like a static. It's just static it's the static that covers the beauty of life.
I like that.
And until you brush that away, you won't be able to see it. That's why a lot of people, you can look at the same scene. Someone can look at something, oh my God, it's beautiful. And they'll be like, hey, what are you looking at?
Absolutely.
It's the same situation. They can't see it. They're not tapped in. They haven't moved away the static, the chatter, and to just observe. It's incredible how beautiful things are when you actually just stop and look at them. Pick up a leaf and just look at a leaf. The beauty, the intricacy. Just think about it. This leaf just came out of nowhere. Like this, it's beautiful if you stop and just observe it.
You know, on that too, it's kind of a cliche thing, but the whole the stillness of water, right? If you've ever seen, you've seen a koi pond, and in a koi pond, you've got these amazing fish, and they're going around, and they're all intricate with all of their, the scales and the way they move and the way they flow through the water and together. And there's, rocks and all this kind of stuff. When that water surface is agitated, you cannot see these things. And that's that static that you're talking about, right? It's all that noise. And once that does start to settle and everything just kind of smooths out, it's like, okay, now I can focus on these important, amazing things that are right in front of me. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, do you have, by chance, a Budo Brothers challenge for our listeners in relation to Joy-Jitsu?
I have a challenge.
Oh.
My Budo Brothers challenge is to go out and practice some type of mindful practice. Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, meditation. Go out into the world, explore what's in your community, explore what is available to you, and practice mindfulness
Love it.
and just observe what your thoughts are.
Beautiful. Budo
Love
Brothers
it.
Challenge. That's what it is.
Awesome. All about joy and replacing that, putting that and training in it so you're starting to see all of those joyous things and everything in your life. Do you have any final thoughts, gentlemen, on joy as we wrap this up?
Yeah, I do have a final thought. If we just invented Joy-Jitsu, who is the Grand Master of the seafood?
Oh, I don't know.
We will have to have a joy off in order
Joy
to
off.
do
I'm
it.
more joyful than you.
I'm way more joyful than you.
I will put your joy in a joy
Name
choke.
one joyful thing you've done this
I will
second.
outjoy you any day of the week.
There's no way.
So the Grand Master of Joy-Jitsu is yet to be determined, but I will outjoy him any day of the week. Never.
All right. I think we'll leave it there because this is going to be a long battle.
To be continued.
To be continued, indeed. All right. As always, thank you guys so much. This is awesome. This is a joyous episode. I love it.
Beautiful. That's what life is about. Joy. Joy.
Yep. And as always, please find us wherever. We're all over the place, like all the social media things, right?
Yep. Comment, like, subscribe. Actually, don't forget to subscribe because then
yes.
you get the notifications and you don't even have to worry about finding it anywhere else. It'll just pop up on your phone.
Every Thursday.
Yeah, all this awesomeness is just going to hit you when you least expect it. It's going to be great.
Beautiful.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll see you on the I'll talk to you on the next episode.
See you then.